miracle. You've got this far, and you should be very proud of yourself. Jack, I reminisce many of the events that you and I have done over the years together. And in our childhood days, I quite remember a lot about playing baseball in the grass fields behind us and cutting the baseball path with the lawnmower, playing basketball on the big basketball hoop that Uncle John made us, and football in their backyard.
Dawned, America was a nation of 132,122,000 people. Minimum wage, 43 cents per hour. If you were born in this decade, you could expect to live for 68.2 years if female, and 60.8 if you were a man. Your parents would have been part of what has been called the greatest generation. If you were born in the first part of the decade, you're a war baby. A member of the Beat generation. If you were born in the second half of the decade, you are part of the most significant group of Americans in the 21st century, the baby boomers. Cars were everywhere, and gas cost 15 cents a gallon. The average cost of a new home was $5,600. While only 55% of Americans' homes had indoor plumbing. And America's farmers had to make do without electricity. If you were born in the 40s, your decade began with the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt to an unprecedented third term. The country was isolationist. American workers finally got the 40-hour work week. Nylon stockings went on sale for the first time. And Glenn Miller wrote the decade's signature song, In the Mood. When the new year rang in on January 1st, 1950, America's population was 151,684,000 people. The average yearly salary was $2,992. In the labor force, 2 women worked for every 5 men. But women lived longer, 71.1 years, to men's 65.6. Over 6.6 million cars were sold in 1950. That number would double by the end of the decade. The cost of a loaf of bread was 14 cents. A gallon of gas was 18 cents. The 50s was the decade of change in America. The rise of the middle class, suburbia, and building the interstate highway system. The 50s can be captured in just a few words which speak volumes: the Cold War and the Red Scare. This was the decade where people built bomb shelters. If you were born in the 50s, you are a baby boomer, the most influential and powerful group of Americans ever born. The 50s began with Democrat Harry Truman as president. And electricity was generated from nuclear power for the first time. Milk was still delivered to the doorstep. And 8 million homes in the U.S. owned televisions. Salary was $4,743 a year. 87% of American homes had televisions. Life expectancy for men was 66.6 years and 73.6 years for women. 850,000 war baby students entered college as freshmen. A gallon of gas cost 25 cents. If you were born in the 60s, your decade opened with John F. Kennedy as the 35th President of the United States.
Kennedy, do solemnly swear
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Hugh Hefner opened the first Playboy Club in Chicago. Boxing great Muhammad Ali, known then as Cassius Clay, won the light heavyweight gold medal at the Rome Summer Olympics.
Round 3. The decision goes to Cassius Clay of the United States. Pietrkowski graciously congratulates him. And then Ziggy's cornermen also acknowledge Clay's masterful boxing exhibition.
The U.S. men's ice hockey team won gold in the Winter Olympics at Squaw Valley, California. Telstar relayed the first transatlantic television signal.
History is about to be made in the science of communication among men. Technicians in Europe prepare to receive a signal from the orbiting Telstar satellite that opens this new era. This is the first formal exchange of an official transmission, a beaming of the presidential press conference to the continent, where most of Europe can witness democracy at work.
And Alan Shepard made the first U.S. space flight.
He carries his own portable cooling unit to keep him cool while outside the spacecraft. Accompanied by the astronaut's personal physician, Shepard enters the elevator, which will take him to the spacecraft. The countdown goes on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Liftoff at 9:34 a.m.
There was a national debt for the first time since World War II. The average American earned $9,300 a year. Milk cost 33 cents a quart. Bread, 24 cents a loaf. A gallon of gas started the decade at 36 cents and 10 years later more than doubled to 86 cents. Women still outlived men 74.8 years to 67.1. And disco was all the rage. If you were born in the 70s, you are part of Generation X. Your parents were baby boomers, part of the me generation.
I, Richard Billhouse Nixon, do solemnly swear.
Your decade began with Richard Nixon, the most enigmatic president of the 20th century. 43 nations signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The Beatles broke up. Cigarette ads were banned on television.
Why don't you change to Camels, too?
The U.S. lowered the voting age in national elections to 18. Disney World opened in Orlando, Florida. Jumbo jets revolutionized commercial flight, doubling passenger capacity and increasing flight range to over 6,000 miles. Your parents were the first generation to experience long lines at the gas pump. It was the decade that started the computer revolution. A whole new social movement began, the environmental movement. And the first internet chat rooms appeared. The waterbed, Atari's video game, Pong, the 8-track tape player, and the disco ball became the 70s icons. If you were born in the 80s, you would either be labeled as a member of Generation Y or, more popularly, a millennial. In the 80s, America's population started at 226,546,000 people. And its national debt stood at $9.1 billion. By the end of the decade, its population was 246 million people, and the debt had more than tripled to $3.2 trillion. Life expectancy for women had increased to 77.6 years, while men lived 69.9 years on average. Minimum wage was $3.10 an hour. A BMW cost only $12,000, and a Mercedes 280E was $14,800. The cost of a gallon of gas was $1.19 in 1980 and 97 cents in 1989.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The 80s decade started with Republican Ronald Reagan beating Democrat Jimmy Carter by becoming the nation's 40th president. The Miracle on Ice, the U.S. hockey team, won the gold medal at the Lake Placid Winter Olympic Games. It was the decade that Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington state. Ted Turner's 24-hour news network, CNN, began. MTV broadcasted the first music video. There was a home video store in every neighborhood.
Over 200 movies and all the latest titles to choose from.
And Pac-Man was the best-selling arcade game of all time.
I will kill you.
Welcome to Double Dare. Welcome to the Hidden Temple.
It's Mall Madness.
I really like you.
I'm gonna be a supermodel.
Free bubble taste. Hip hip for chocolate chip.
Your pizza has arrived.
Say my name.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars.
Who the hell are you, man?
Officer friendly.
I'm a serial killer.
I count 2 guns.
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
I drink your milkshake.
Just keep swimming.
Hey, I never asked you. Yeah. You like guacamole? Ah!
Made in Germany. You know the Germans always make good stuff.
Wanna know how I got these scars?
Happy birthday, Uncle Jack and Aunt Maryellen. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We love you and miss you.
So I hear that my Aunt Maryellen and my Uncle Jack are turning 80, and their precious daughter, Sue, is doing a video, and I just wanted to say happy 80th birthday. That's amazing. I'm sure my cat thinks so as well. Frank's recording this. He says happy birthday, too. Frank? Happy birthday. Can you say it?
Happy birthday.
All right. Great.